at the board in TV. Night for any concoction a year UK abrochimum. Now, one of UK top journalists, Matt Wadley, Ababontin at the Enseña Betudra Atro, a news journals be a friend the Telegraph news about agreement be a the UK abrochimum and it's a selection John Dramani Mahama Apple. Let's say for a brief the NDC government way back in 2013. Ekoboro sika ewa UK abrochimem about 256 million US dollars for anya samkitwa. Now so antecedent UK abrochimem ne Excellency John Dramani Mahama, which is the same president, accord an agreement say offer another 15 years as to sakana okoji way back in 2013. Also the two ade a shene pass this same president Ababontin Ababasisa Ghana judicial rule na ya one of the democratic ruling semebeno Ababontin Abasisa it identify necessary sa president we eba na granting 15 years something to sakana at the same time so that no ko US abochimema Ghana ma ya de kai wo honoma enya semketo by this same government 266 million US dollars for no so say ka Ghana man yede na yese bi pinako ko tinsema owura Matt Wadley eka na odi tudwa medamu
can independent power producers liabilities ultimately written by the US taxpayer. It is part of a whopping $2.5 billion the country holds in unpaid debts to energy suppliers alone that was procured under this same President Mahama during his first term as Ghana's president. A year take or pay energy contracts no one's na Brunike. One must question the common sense, let alone the economic case of lending the country more. That becomes even more questionable when Ghana's current government has begun demolishing the pillars of law and democracy on which the country's good standing was built. President John Dramani Mahama took office in January for a second non-consecutive term. Since then, Ghana has taken a far leftward, anti-democratic turn, wielding lawfare against his political opponents. He has bent the law to protect his own. The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court was dismissed based on a petition that was never made public. Half a dozen more complainant justices have since been appointed to the same bench. Scores of legal cases against members of the president's own party, many related to serious fraud and corruption and major banking collapse, have been dropped by the country's Attorney General entering into nolle prosequis. This approach should not come as a surprise from a leader who is both a socialist and a Soviet sympathizer. His autobiography, My First Coup d'etat, is partly set in Russia, a country where he studied and by his own account found quite agreeable. Mahama even took time out of last year's election campaign to launch the book's Russian edition in Moscow. Since returning to the presidency, he has made his mark on international affairs by penning an opinion article in the Guardian newspaper attacking Elon Musk and Donald Trump over South Africa. But it is lawfare against the opposition that should most concern the moneylenders in London. The most high-profile attack has been against Ken Ofori-Atta, the previous administration's former finance minister. Ofori-Atta is nothing if not a Western man, educated at Yale and Columbia Universities. He went on to work at Morgan Stanley and Solomon Brothers before founding his own investment bank. He became one of Ghana's best known and most successful international business leaders, entering national politics only in middle age, and certainly not for the money. He went on to oversee major economic reforms of the banking sector and steer the country through the strains of the COVID-19 pandemic over a period during which Ghana's GDP per capita nearly doubled. Only days after Mahama's return, the state turned on Ofori-Atta. Lurid accusations flew, followed by demands for his return to Ghana to face questioning. His home was raided. A special prosecutor branded him fugitive from justice without evidence. US authorities were said to be processing an extradition request, and even an Interpol red notice was reportedly issued to extract him from the United States, where he was allegedly hiding. Except he wasn't. Ofori-Atta, per medical records available to United States officials, was in the US receiving cancer treatment. Meanwhile, the military and police had entered his home in Ghana, apparently without a warrant. No extradition request was ever made to Washington. My investigations told me, here is evidence of proof which Washington sent to me that no extradition request was ever made to them. The special prosecutor has since admitted as much. Nor were there any indictment with evidence from the special prosecutor. The special prosecutor has never pressed charges, raising the question of whether Ghanaian authorities misled Interpol into issuing the red notice, which in law can only be applied after formal charges have been brought. This is why Mr. Ofori-Atta is still enjoying his life as any other person in the United States. Nearly a year later, only salacious accusations have been made against Ofori-Atta, primarily about sign-off on spending in government departments outside the finance ministry. It is equivalent of expecting to hold Chancellor Rahel Reeves personally responsible for every single individual line item of spending in the Department of Culture, Media and Sport, or the Atomic Energy Agency, or the Passport Office. It seems self-evident these attacks are underway because Ghana's current leadership perceive Ofori-Atta, a man possessing presidential bearing, as a potential serious challenger at the next election should he go down that path. This is no way to run a democracy. Indeed, it is questionable whether the rule of law is still functioning when such a stark case of political persecution is unfolding, and whether international businesses can still rely on the legal security of their investments in Ghana. As for the British taxpayer, questions should be asked about